755 is real. I'm your friendly co-host David O'Brien, and my other friendly co-host is Eric O'Flaherty. I'm the Braves writer for the Athletic. Eric's a former Braves reliever. I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember Eric back in the '60s, but he was quite good. Eric, what's up, man?
Strung together a good year or two. Not anymore. Old bag of old bag of bones now.
You pitched with that guy, if I'm not mistaken, that guy that was pitching for the Cubs last night.
Yeah, Dirty C wants a little more money, I think. He's putting
I,
together that free agent year after a couple bad ones.
he looks good, man.
He does.
Hey, tell me something. Do you barely recognize him with long hair?
No, because he still does that thing as soon as he gets
Well,
on
he
the
still
mound.
does that arm thing, but his hair, if in the face with the hair, he looks so different than I'm used to.
Yeah, those rosy cheeks are gone too. He's getting a little older.
I noticed that. I thought those were going to be with him forever.
No, they're gone.
Yeah, yeah. Man, yeah, he was nasty. He was throwing 96, 97, and dotting it too.
Yeah, something clicked. I know he's gone through some stuff at home and maybe not focused, but he's settling in. I mean, that he looks now like the guy that we used to see all the time.
Yeah, yeah. He's got time for one more significant deal if he keeps that up. But fortunately for the Braves, they only saw him one time during the series in a 4-game
Yeah,
series, which means that was a hell of a series for the Braves, and it was. They
yeah,
won those first 3 games, and that was far and away the best stretch that we've seen from the Braves. They've had a game or two. That game against the Cubs, obviously the 13-4, 5-homer game, but this first three straight games, they really looked a lot closer to last year's team. And I know that's some bad pitching with the Cubs, but still, a lot of encouraging signs for the Braves offense in that series, I thought.
yeah. I mean, I'm glad they're doing it because we've been saying it's coming for 2 or 3 weeks. But I mean, you can look at the Dodgers too. The Dodgers haven't been hitting, and they're still holding their own. But I think both teams are about to take off. And for the Braves, it was really that bottom half of the lineup wasn't
Yeah.
contributing like you're used to in the past, because that used to be kind of like the second gauntlet. That you get through that tough part of the lineup, and then you'd have to deal with Dansby and Darno and those guys down there, and they put up more runs. So they're looking good now. Ozuna's
Well,
looking like he's getting going at least.
yeah, it was really the middle and the bottom. It was
Yeah.
really everybody but
It was
Acuna. Let's be
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. But I
was
mean,
not
you weren't worried
contributing a lot.
about I never
Right.
worried about Freddie.
Yeah.
Ozuna started to make you worry a little bit because he's had one of those seasons before, but the bottom half was looking really bad, and now they're starting to contribute. And once they get going, man, this lineup, there's just going to be no breaks.
The only thing good out of the bottom half for a while there was the replacements, the fill-ins, the pinch
Yeah,
hitters.
yeah,
Guillermo Heredia playing great. Pablo Sandoval obviously playing great. Um, and Adrianza had some great
yep,
fill-in time. So now you got Austin Riley is cooking. You got Ozzy Albies is really heating up. Um, like you said, Ozuna homer 2 straight games. Great sign for him because he had 1 homer in the previous 23 games. So he's homering in back-to-back games. Um, man, you know what? I was talking to Bowman last night. He's really good. Ozuna is going to do this entire thing now on every home run. I mean, he stops, does the selfie at first, stops, does the stutter step thing at third. I mean, it's like a production. It's
yep.
like a Broadway production every home run.
It's weird to see when you're down 5 runs. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But I mean, if that's kind of the mindset in the game now, is that this is what the people want and what
yeah,
gets kids into the game,
yeah.
then whatever. I mean, I don't know what the limit's going to be, because at some
I think
point
he's reached the limit. I think he's pushed
I
the
don't
limit.
think so.
He's
I
right
mean,
there.
he's hitting 190 right now. What if he gets up to 350 and he hits number 35 on the year?
Well, you know what I was also thinking is it takes a special personality to pull it off and not rub it, but has so much fun
Yeah.
and everybody likes him so much. And on the other team, everybody likes him because he's just a friendly guy. I think if, say, Bryce Harper did the same thing,
Oh, it
he
wouldn't go over
would
well.
it
Yeah.
would not go over well.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure when Ozuna, we haven't seen him do it on the road yet, that whole thing. If he does that whole thing in a place like Philadelphia with a packed house, it's
Well,
going to be
that's when it's going
interesting.
to get funny.
It's going to be interesting to see
Yeah.
because you can't really not do it now, right? Now that you've said it, now that you're doing it, either.
And I don't think he's going to be afraid.
I don't think he's afraid of anything.
No, I think
Unless
he's
he
doing
has
it.
one for home and then one for the road, we'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, they,
I don't think there's much danger if he does it now in Dunedin this weekend. He's okay there.
yeah, I don't think they got too many super passionate Blue Jays fans out there. But yeah, I mean that's kind of the big change in the game and the whole let the kids play thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I fought it at first, back 3, 4, 5 years ago when
Yeah.
guys started getting more flamboyant out there, and I guess you got to adapt to the times and embrace it. And I think Snit's done a good job at that. I've wondered deep down how he feels about his player
Yeah.
taking a selfie at first base. It probably drives him crazy a little bit, but he knows, for the greater good, he's just got
Yeah.
to let certain things go. And I think
But
that's where smart people are at now in the game.
yeah, exactly. I tell you what, after he just signed that 4 year, $65 million deal, nobody's going up to Ozuna. And the way he's been struggling. Now he's hit a couple of home runs. Nobody's going to go up to Ozuna and go, hey, could you calm it down a little bit? They're not doing
Well,
that. So
that's the thing is it's like whatever. I think that's what you have to do at this point in the game as a manager is whatever gets guys to that place.
yeah.
Whatever whatever routine they got to have that gets them playing free and easy and loose out there. You don't want to discourage that.
And the most important thing is it's good for the team. The
Yeah.
team gets into it. If there were some guys on the team that clearly did not like it and kind of expressed, that they didn't or
Yeah.
were rolling their eyes in the background or whatever, that'd be one thing. But they're into it. And if it helps the team, that's all you should care about.
Yeah.
You can't worry about what the other side thinks as long as you're not rubbing it in their faces. And I don't think he is. That's not what he's doing. He's not pointing to the other side. That'd be one thing. He's not grabbing his crotch, at the other side or, starting fights. He's not like that. So that'd be one thing. So he's not doing it. We'll see. It is fun. I mean, I laugh. It makes me smile. So
I was
I know
laughing.
the fans love it. And that's all that counts, right?
Did you see Mike Plant waving in the background on it yesterday?
I did not.
If you look past him when he's doing it, I don't know if Mike Plant knows he's going to be in that shot or whatever, but he's just standing there like this.
But they get guys like Riley who normally, if he wasn't on this team at this time right now, I think Riley would be the most reserved player in the majors. Show no emotions and everything.
Yeah.
And they got him in there doing selfies in the dugout. I mean,
Yeah.
so that's good. That's good. There's nothing wrong with that. But
Whatever.
We'll see.
I mean, it's just whatever you got to do to get yourself in that mode out there that you play your best. Some guys are better reserved and they're uncomfortable showing that stuff, and other guys need to be free and just playing a game out there. So, I mean, if I was in Snitch's shoes, I'd just, if you see stuff you don't like, but it's for the better good of the team, just kind of bite your tongue.
And Snit's got guys. He could have Walt Weiss go talk to him if he wanted to and say, hey, look, we don't want to rein in, but could you just cut out maybe the one this or that,
tone it down until it's a big moment, right. Down 6 is,
but that's not a big deal. So we'll see. But it's so far Ozuna hasn't taken one in the ear hole because of it. So obviously other teams aren't that pissed about it, but it's not really killing teams yet either. So we'll see.
No, and that's kind of the thing too. I don't think teams are going to throw at him unless they feel disrespected. I think there's still a time and a place to throw at people in the game, but it's mainly to protect your players.
Like St. Louis and
St. Louis. Yeah. Harper got hit in the face and then the next dude got smoked too in the ribs. And that neither one of those were intentional, but you have to send the message to other team that you can't hit our 3-hole hitter in the face. We're going to come back at you with something. And I thought the whole thing went down perfect because Arenado knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Arenado, Goldschmidt were probably going to get hit. Arenado wore it and just jogged over to first base.
Handled it the way it's supposed to.
Yeah. I mean, I really still like that side of the game.
I do too. I think people get a little carried away and think every time Acuna gets hit, so the Braves should hit the other, and they never look at the situation. Like he got hit the other day, like bases were loaded, I think, and he got, he didn't get hit. He got thrown inside and he almost got hit. It's like they're not trying to hit him with the bases loaded. You got to think about the situation. And they're also not throwing at his head like when the dude from Miami threw at him.
Yeah,
obvious to start the game after he had let off 3 straight games with home runs. You can't stand for that, and that's when you've got to throw at their guy to get you protect your guy. You've got to. But every time Acuna gets hit in the elbow guard, you can't throw at their guy. You know, you can't. You have to judge the situation. But the Braves got it. They've got to protect Acuna. And there have been a couple of times this year where I think they should have thrown at one of their
Yeah.
guys in the next inning, you know?
Well, the hard part for him is that one, he shows so much emotion when he gets pitched inside now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and it visually takes him off his game. So you can't expect your opponents not
That's
to do that.
Yeah.
Because you can see him. If you watch the game,
yeah,
every inside pitch now, he stares back out at the pitcher.
Every time.
But every time he wears one, you know, that outside part of the plate opens back up. Every time he gets hit, you know, he has a rougher game. Yeah, he did take Williams deep, though, on a fastball out over the plate or a slider. But you can see how it affects him. And it's also, that's where you have to pitch him. You know, if he's not looking to do damage in, most of his damage is out over the plate or breaking balls in the zone. So every single team's going to pitch him in. And when it visually frustrates him, you know, you're not going to, if a dude stares at you after you come high and in on him, you're not like, oh no, he's mad, I better not go back in there. You know, it has no effect on you as a pitcher, but you can see that it's having an effect. It almost makes you want to do it more. So the other thing he doesn't do well is, because he has that tendency to dive, is he doesn't turn his back, you know, when it comes in tight. He wears a lot off his hands,
like Freddie did for years and years.
Yep.
And that's what Crime Dog told me, that Fred McGriff told me, that Freddie has got to learn to turn the shoulder this way.
Yeah.
Freddie kept getting hit in the hands and wrists because he kept turning like this to get out of the way of the ball instead of like that. And I've noticed Freddie's been better about that in the last couple of years. But Crime Dog showed me, he said it's hard to learn it, but once you do it and make it instinctive, you turn, the ball's coming at you, duck your shoulder because you're not going to get hurt.
No, back of the shoulder. I mean, it hurts, but it's not going to.
When you turn like this, all of a sudden you open all that up and you do real damage. You break those little bones in the wrist like Freddie did.
Yeah, and Acuna wore one off the pinky. You know, I mean, that was kind of a scary thing the other day.
Could have broke it.
Easily,
because that's one area they haven't developed the kind of Kevlar gloves that will remain. Because you got to be flexible. You can't put Kevlar on that. You know, so that's not protected. That whole area is unprotected. Yeah. Some guys have a pad on top of the hand, but you're not going to have it on the sides of the fingers and all that. So
that's kind of when, you know, that is when you as a team say, we understand that you're going to pitch this guy in, but you know, you better throw guys that are throwing in on him with control.
Yeah.
That don't smoke him, or we're hitting you. You know, I mean, we understand part of the game is you got to pitch him high and tight inside and get him off his game. But if you hit him, you know, if it happens, we're probably going to hit somebody back. You know, there has to be some payback there.
Yeah. Like Philly had a pitcher and they said he just doesn't have his command. He's a young kid. Well, he shouldn't be in there then. You know,
the Cardinals did.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's the guy that hit Harper in the face.
Right.
But that's the message. It's like, we don't care why you're hitting him, whether it's accident or on purpose. If you hit him, we're hitting you. You know, I mean, that's just kind of the side of the game that they gotta enforce just to protect Acuna, because guys can't be reckless in there. He's too valuable.
So today's roster moves. The Braves, there was a flurry of them here going into this interleague series against the Blue Jays. Braves reinstated Sean Newcomb from the injured list. He'd been out COVID protocols. He missed 2 weeks. They recalled right-hander reliever Edgar Santana. This one's going to be interesting. I think he could be a big ad. He was really good with the Pirates a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, because he missed 2 years, one for TJ surgery, last year for PED suspension. Braves got him for almost nothing, cash considerations, after he'd been DFA'd with the Pirates 3 weeks ago. So he's a strike thrower. I heard good reports on him down at the alternate site. He could be a big ad because they need a guy beyond those first four or five guys. And Newcomb can be really big. He was throwing great before he went on the IL. So that's 2 ads to the bullpen. They opened a spot for Santana on the 40-man by transferring Soroka to the 60-day IL. And you know how that goes immediately on social media. It's like, oh no,
he's dead.
It's just procedural. It's nothing. Soroka was not, and you retroactivate it. So Soroka is not going to be ready physically before he's going to be eligible to come off the 60-day IL before he's even ready physically.
Yeah.
He's going to be out till at least early June, probably late June. Coming back
out well over 60 days at this point.
Right. And they shut him down for 3 weeks with the shoulder. You know, it was supposed to be two, then it went three. Now he's throwing again, but he's basically, this is the start of spring training for him, you know?
Yeah.
He's got to go through the whole progression now again to be ready. So that was just a procedural thing to open a spot for Centeno, the 40. And they optioned Bryce Wilson back to the outside after Wilson had a pretty lackluster start, pretty bad start last night in the series finale against the Cubs Thursday night. And they optioned Johan Camargo to the alternate site. And Eric, honestly, I forgot Camargo was on the team a couple of times this week until they showed him on TV standing at the railing in the dugout. I mean, he has not played much at all. The regulars are playing all the time, and he's not one of the two key guys off the bench because that's Sandoval, you know, and Guillermo Heredia, and then Adrianza. Those are their key guys off the bench.
Yeah. I mean, Camargo's in a tough spot. I think if he was getting a chance to play every day, you know, like after that big season he had, if he was just getting a chance to play every day, but there's not really a spot for him to play every day. And I think he's a guy that needs to play every day. You know, we've talked about that in the past, how tough of an adjustment that is, especially for young guys, you know, on the mental side of it. But
yeah,
he's in a tough spot. I mean, it could be good for him to go down and get a lot more at bats so that when he does get to play, he can contribute.
or go to another team.
Yeah, because it's not doing him any good to sit the bench.
Right, because Adrianza has replaced him as the primary utility guy.
So and he's not can't argue with that.
No, and he's not even going to get, because they're one of those teams that they're not the Dodgers. They play the same guys at the same positions basically every day. You know, they're not subbing in. They're not sitting guys for a game or two a week like Ozzy Albies, Freddie Freeman, Dansby, Riley. They're playing every day.
Yeah.
So unless they're nicked up, they're basically not going to sit. They might sit one every 10 games, but that's it. Yep. So, and Adrianza is going to make the start in most of the infield spots, or Pablo, if Freddie sits for a game, you know, might play first base, but it's not going to be Camargo. So, and now he's probably behind Arcia too, because don't forget they've got Arcia down there at the alternate site. And if God forbid Dansby got hurt or Ozzy got hurt, Arcia is the guy that's going to stick. They're going to replace him with. That's going to play for 3-4 weeks if they need, not Camargo.
Yeah, he's in a tough spot because he's shown too much and he's too good to just trade for a bag of sunflower seeds, you know, and go get his opportunity. So, I mean, I think that's the thing that guys struggle with the most is knowing you're good enough to play at that level and just kind of hanging around waiting for your opportunity. It's really hard to stay ready.
So unfortunately, you are the depth the team needs, but that means you're not going to play unless somebody gets hurt. Yep. And in his case, unless two people probably get hurt. So, but if people ask about Arcia, what happened? Did he get hurt? No, he's not didn't get hurt. They didn't get him to sit him on the bench and have him play once every week. They got him to be ready to fill in and play every day if needed. So that's what he's doing at the alt side. He's playing the daily inter-squad games, you know, because if he was up with the team, he'd be getting, you know, one at bat every 3 days.
Yeah.
So they got some depth. That's a good thing for them, not for Camargo, but it's good for the team.
Yeah.
Newcomb had a 1.69 ERA, a 1.125 WHIP in 5 appearances before he went on the IL. But I thought the big thing was he had 12 strikeouts and 4 walks in 5 1/3 innings. So that's another power arm coming back that can really, he could get in and get out of some jams if needed, you know, with the strikeouts, and he can go an inning or inning and third, inning 2/3. That's a big ad. That's a key piece, and he can pitch in high leverage situations. That was what he was working his way into before he got hurt, or before he went on the IL with COVID.
Yeah, he's got he can
COVID test, I should say.
As long as he embraces it, you know, I don't know how bad he still wants to start, but as long as he embraces that role. I mean, you look at what Will Smith can do in close, right? Nuke's got better stuff than him.
Oh yeah.
You know, so and you saw it that game against the Nationals where he was just better than them, just blew them away. Mm-hmm. You know, not coming out of the rotation and having a fresh arm and being out of the pen. You know, his velocity is going to jump. I'll be interested to see how he feels after his time off, but I mean, I have a lot of confidence in him, and he's been good out of the pen every time.
Santana, the guy that called up today, he had 69 appearances with the Pirates in 2018, had a 3.26 ERA, a 1.101 WHIP, 54 strikeouts, and only 12 walks in 66 1/3 innings. That's a hell of a ratio there, man. That's more than 4-1.
Yeah, throwing strikes is big. I was laughing the other day. It's like, that Rizzo versus Freeman was the perfect example of just
Yeah.
how you just throw the ball. I mean,
Yep.
just those are the odds. It's just that hard to hit a baseball. Rizzo's throwing 74 and he struck out Freddie Freeman, who, people work their whole lives to be able to get Freddie out once.
Yeah.
And Rizzo comes in and punches him out at 74. So anytime you get a reliever that throws strikes, it's a good thing.
Freddie said, I could hit Alex 64 mile an hour curveball, but I couldn't hit Rizzo's 61 mile an hour curveball. He said it was under my bat speed. That
Yeah.
was a great moment, man, because the
Yeah.
Braves were blowing him out. So, and Freddie was 4 for 4 in that game until he strikes out against Rizzo.
Yeah.
But that was one of those where everybody in the building enjoyed it. Even
Yeah.
Freddie, even though he said he didn't, he did. He was laughing.
He was laughing.
He said Rizzo will have that over him for the rest of his life, though. It's his pal. Rizzo's good for
Oh
his.
man, you never get to talk any crap to him again.
Never.
It's over because he'll just go right to that. So he
And
wins.
chances are he'll never face him again. So
I wish they'd throw Freddie on the mound in one of those games. I mean, I think Rizzo had been begging Joe Madden to pitch for years, and Rossi finally let him do it. But Freddie off the mound, man, I guarantee he could throw low 90s. He has a cannon.
that's the thing though, is he's not going to get up there and do like Rizzo, where Rizzo obviously wasn't going to get hurt. He's not.
Freddie's
Freddie's
gonna
going
let
to
it
go
eat.
and
Yeah.
try to throw hard.
Yeah.
And the Braves are probably scared as hell
Yeah.
that he or Acuna, somebody like that, you use them and they need them hurting an elbow, and you would never hear the end of it
Yep.
if that happened.
We always wanted to see Simmons off the mound too,
Yeah.
because he had such a good arm. He did one time. He did jump up on. We were in spring training. He just jumped up on the mound because they would leave that gun on at Disney.
Uh-huh.
So, and the thing is even us pitchers, we try to put a little something on it. It'd be 82 because when you're not in game mode and you're not fully, lubed up, it's not there. Simba jumped up there and put a 92 up with one throw. We were like, man, if he got
Wow.
off the mound, he could probably touch 100.
Yeah, I heard he hit 98 as a closer
Yeah,
at that Oklahoma JUCO that he went to.
it's not a tough sell.
Yeah. You know who else? LaRoche. Remember, Adam LaRoche used to throw a bullpen like every week or or every 4 or 5 days. He'd throw bullpens just in case, because he wanted Bobby to use them. Bobby never did.
Yeah.
But he had a nasty breaking ball, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's always the guys that, it's like Charlie, that if he gets hurt,
Yeah.
it hurts, but it doesn't, you're not losing a starter. So I was kind of shocked to see Rossi throw Rizzo out there, but he probably talked to him ahead of time. Like, just go
Yeah.
mess around, don't blow your arm out.
Yeah, and
That
he
was
wasn't
funny.
throwing hard at all. He wasn't trying to hump up.
He did try to hump up on the one, and he like 77, I think.
That was fun to watch, though. God,
Yeah.
those guys, they look like kids out there, man.
Yeah.
They
But
were
that's
having,
not, that goes back to the whole, what we were talking about earlier. Like that guy smiling and laughing while they're down 10 runs, that would
yeah.
have never happened 10 years ago. And people love it. I mean, it gave people something to laugh about and enjoy in a blowout.
Snits like Bobby does not want to use a position player pitch. I mean,
No.
he learned from Bob. Bobby hated that.
Yeah.
He never did it. Bobby
Nope.
would never be shorthanded. He always had a guy, even if they went 17 innings, he did not want to run out of pitchers if he could all be helped.
Yeah.
And he also didn't pinch hit his catcher like so many guys do now. I mean, the chances are so slim that you're ever going to run out of catchers, but he didn't want to do it. He wouldn't pinch hit his catcher unless he really had to.
Yeah. I mean, the only
Old
time
school.
I think that's a tough call is if you have a catcher that's your everyday guy that just rakes.
Yeah.
Like BMAC used to come off the bench sometimes. Freddie would do it. I remember
Yeah.
BMAC came in and hit a game tying homer in the ninth off Melanson, and then a game winner a couple innings later off the bench. But for the most part, yeah, you're right. Bobby wouldn't do that.
Yeah. What do you think of Bryce Wilson so far? I mean, it's so sporadic. It's hard to judge anything but back and forth for the alternate site. But he gave up 7 hits, 4 runs, 2 walks, only 1 strikeout in 3 innings last night against the Cubs Thursday night. Also had a strange balk where he slipped on his plant foot. I guess it just happens, but he almost rolled his ankle, almost tumbled off the mound, man. But that led in the second run of the first inning. He had guys on second and third and balked.
Yeah, sometimes I think his cleat just caught. I mean,
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
You
Yeah.
kind of you take your foot pretty low trying to stay in line,
Uh-huh.
and if that cleat catches, you're never expecting that, so it's a wrap from there. Most guys will try to throw it anyway, so there's no balk. But if you're not ready for it,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
You don't want to send him to the bleachers.
No.
He but so far he's 1-2 with a 6.75 ERA and 3 starts. He's allowed 18 hits, 9 earned runs, 5 walks with 8 strikeouts in 12 innings. Obviously, this is not what we expected after what we thought might be a breakthrough performance for him, against Clayton Kershaw in the NLCS. But it's just hard to judge because he started at the alternate site. He's back and forth. He's pitching there every 5 days, but that's a little different than coming up here and pitching. But rough start for him.
Yeah, he's a tough one for me because you don't ever want to take that aggression away that he's got. I like that he challenges guys and goes after them, but
yeah.
I've noticed when his velocity's down or he doesn't have his breaking ball, he left some sliders up. He left some fastballs belt high instead of either at the top or the bottom of the zone. He was just kind of hitting those no fly zones a little too much yesterday. For him, you just go to the drawing board and you figure out if you need to throw more. If your mindset is I want to be a really aggressive pitcher and be in the zone and attack guys, you might need a movement fastball. Because his fastball is pretty straight. So you might want a cutter, you might want a sinker. That's a good thing early in your career when you do go down is he can kind of toy around with something that he feels like he can throw for strikes, something hard, but that he might be able to miss more barrels with. And a sinker or cutter is going to be easier to keep down in the zone.
Well, fortunately for the Braves, Huascar Ynoa has been even more of a pleasant surprise than Wilson has been a disappointment so far. That's for sure. We knew Ynoa was good because he had those big moments last year in the playoffs in a blowout. They were getting blown out. Big moment at Philly in a doubleheader, but that was only like 3 innings. No one could have suspected that he was ready to do what he's done this year because he has been terrific in 4 of his 5 starts. All the starts with Alex Jackson catching, he's been terrific.
Well, and even handling his role last year, bouncing all over the place.
Yeah.
That's really not easy to do. And they'd throw him in a spot start and he'd get it done. He might not be perfect, but he'd give you something every time. This year, I've noticed his slider is so damn good.
Yeah.
He gets bad swings on his slider. He's not afraid either. He's got that confidence. He's loose out there. I didn't know he threw as hard as he did. I feel like he's got an extra mile or two this year, and that's definitely helping him. But the cool thing about his shoes is nobody, no coach, nobody making decisions in the big leagues cares how good you're supposed to be or your prospect status.
Yeah.
If you're throwing like he is, he's getting opportunity, and I like to see it.
He's a strong dude, as we saw by his home run.
Yeah. Front foot.
Yeah. But he can hump it up to the upper 90s.
Yeah.
And then Freddie said the few batters that got to first base, a couple of guys got to first base, told him that slider is like 2 different breaking balls, the movement.
Yeah.
And Huascar said that's all in just him changing the velocity, taking a little bit off. He said he can make it do different things by just taking a little bit off, which some other guys could learn from that.
Yeah. That was something I was thinking about Bryce too, is that, everything's kind of going away from the hitters, but there's not too much variance in just those little things. So that's learning how to pitch. And some guys come up with that. And then some guys have to learn it through failure and go toy around with the sinker or taking a little off your breaking ball. But being able to throw a slider one time and have it go more, north-south, and the next time it's going east-west, that gives the hitters, even if they're looking for the pitch, and it's just that little bit different of a break, all of a sudden they hit it off the end of the bat, or they get it off their hands, or they swing over the top of it. That's pitching. That's what makes a guy good. And to see that from him and already know how to do that, because forget he's young too. He's like 24. 23. I didn't know how to do that stuff at 23, but that's probably a big part of why he's doing so well.
That's exactly what Snit said, was you rarely see a young guy with the feel for the breaking ball that he has. Explain that to people, why that is.
Well, it's playing around, it's like, for me, I always had a good breaking ball because I sat in my front yard and played pickup baseball with my buddies in the neighborhood. And we had these little foam balls that you could make break like 7 feet instead of the 2 you're getting from a baseball. But you just learn, if I put my hand, if I come across it more, it goes more side to side. If I get on top of it, it goes down. It's harder to play at the major league level, because there's so much stress on you. You got to have balls to try stuff like that in games, and sometimes it backfires on you. You don't ever want to do it again.
Yeah.
But just having the feel for what the ball is going to do. You know, so many guys get into this robotic, this is my breaking ball, this is how I throw it mode, and you forget to play a game and pitch.
Yeah.
And I think young guys, especially with all the pressure on them, you know, I mean, especially the guys on the back end of this rotation, they know Soroka's coming back. They're trying to stay in this thing, so they might not have the balls to toy around with a pitch
Yeah.
like that. And Noah's out there. He seems like he's just like, I mean, maybe the most confident pitcher on the staff right now, but he's just playing a game when he's out there.
Yeah.
And it's a good place to be mentally.
And he also has developed that changeup, and he threw some of
Yeah.
those the other day. I mean, if he brings that changeup and makes that to something close to a plus pitch, this guy with that slider, that fastball, and a changeup, he could be top of the rotation guy. I mean, that's why he's pitching right now anyway.
Yeah. And that's part of why I keep forgetting he's so young, is he doesn't have all that prospect hype on him.
Yeah.
You haven't been hearing about him. You know, he kind of came over in a trade that wasn't a big deal. And so when you come over like that, there's not all this hype of this big prospect we got. And you watch him pitch and you kind of think he's like a journeyman or something. Then you find out he's 23 and you're like, shit, this might be one of the best pitching prospects we've got in a while, you know?
So you look at next year, I don't want to look ahead too much, but you look at next year with Soroka, Fried, and then of course, Ian Anderson and this guy. I mean, that could go any order. You could have any of those guys at number one, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he's pitching that well.
Yeah.
You could have 4 legit top half of the rotation guys, top 1-2 type guys.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about it. It's not going to come down to contract status or prospect status. Whoever's the hottest and throwing the ball the best, you know, you can't really argue with that guy being your ace. It's going to be hard to overtake Fried and Soroka, but
if they're healthy,
but he is, and Anderson too.
Right, Anderson's terrific.
All 3 of them, but it's incredible depth they have.
And then you just fill in with whoever. You trade for a guy, you pick up a journeyman for fifth, if those guys are all healthy.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. You're finding a 5th starter because you've got your first 4 right there, and they're all making not much money.
Yeah. And if Wright or Wilson figure out the things that are holding them back, you know, I mean, that'll just be what they'd have to gauge moving forward, is if they have the confidence in those guys. But it's really not a huge risk if, you know, it keeps pitching like this, and Anderson shows what he has. Fried gets back healthy. Soroka gets back healthy. I mean, you got a solid rotation for a long time.
And then you got young guys. You're going to have a minor league season this year, so you're going to have a chance to gauge guys in real games like Muller, Tucker Davidson. I mean, you're going to have you should have choices. You might not even have to go out and get a guy next year other than a veteran to be able to plug into the 5th spot if somebody gets hurt.
Bring Charlie back anyway if he keeps doing what he's doing, because he's nice stability to have. He's been pretty consistent.
Yeah, and he might not be ready to hang it up if he's right here and he can spring training right near his house. Yeah. Anyway, that's getting ahead of ourselves. We're only 25 games into this thing, but the pitching depth looks good, man. The Alex Jackson can be thankful that Huascar has pitched so well with him catching, because Alex is doing nothing with the bat. But you can't argue with this so far. There's no way Snit's going to break up that tandem when he's pitching. If it's at all possible, he's going to keep letting Alex catch Huascar as long as they keep doing this, because Huascar only struggled in 1 start, and that was with, you know, it's probably just coincidence, whatever, with Darno catching. But Darno needs a break every 5 days.
Anyway, it's nice to have that. Yeah, it's nice to be able to coordinate that. You know, and they're both right-handed hitters, so there's a wash there. You know, you're not going to try to start him against a lefty because he hits righty or vice versa. You know, I mean,
Jackson's not hitting either right now. So, but
but what I'm saying is, the only way you might break that up is if you like the matchup of one of the hitters hit left-handed and you know, but it's nice to have that anyway. Have that one guy that matches up really well, because it makes Snit's job easy of when to give Darno a day off.
Yeah, so unless it's like a day game after a night game, he's gonna, that'll be perfect chances for to give. That works out well. It's kind of like the Maddox with Eddie Perez, you know.
Yeah, and sometimes there's no reason for it. It's just
worked. Maddox was comfortable with him catching.
Yep. And at that point, once you've done it, you know, if Anoa's done it for 5 or 6 starts to him, you know, it's just nice to see that same guy back there for familiarity.
Yeah. And I still think Alex Jackson is going to run into one a few times, you know. I mean, we've seen what he can do with the power. Saw spring training a couple of bombs, but he's just he looks overmatched most of the time to play. But you know, if he's catching once every 5 days and Huascar's doing that, it doesn't matter if he gets in anything, you know.
No, especially if everybody else in the lineup
Right,
gets going. You know, if Darno's bat was on fire and everybody else was struggling, you might want to
right.
toy with it. But the way it's going now, I don't see him messing with it at all.
Um, Bench strength. The irony of this, we were talking about entering the season, the bench as being the main weakness of this team, the bench. It's been arguably the strength of the team so far.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy. You think it's like say, like right now the Giants and the Royals have the best records in the National League and the American League respectively. Who picked it? Nobody. So, but this bench thing doesn't look like a fluke either because Adrianzo, I knew was a good player. I mean, everybody
Yeah.
told me that when they got him from the Twins. Nobody expected this from Guillermo Heredia. But what he's doing when he's doing it, it doesn't look fluky. I mean, he looks
No.
good up there, and he's a good outfielder. And then
Yeah.
Pablo Sandoval, that's not fluky. This guy's
No.
hit forever. And he's in a perfect role for Pablo Sandoval now. Pinch hitting, hasn't needed him in the field, but if he needs to play first base or even third base, he can. It's not to get through a game or whatever, or he can play first base for a series if they needed him to. But he's a guy that you can pinch hit, and he is perfectly suited for it, and just comes through again and again with professional at bats in that role.
Yeah, even if he hadn't done what he's done, the at bats are encouraging.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's really what you want to see off the bench is you don't want a guy coming up there and grounding out first pitch. And pretty much everybody off the bench is at least coming up and battling.
Yeah.
And in this sense, they're putting up numbers too. So we were wrong. I'm glad to be wrong about that.
They're the Braves pinch hitting OPS, 888 OPS and 41 pinch hit plate appearances. So this is not 10,
it's hard to get.
Is the best in baseball among all teams with more than 10 plate appearances. In other words, everybody except a couple of American League teams that never pinch hit. There are 4 pinch hit homers, twice as many as any other team except the Giants, who have 5 pinch hit homers, but they have 62 pinch hit plate appearances compared to the Braves 41. So they're more typical in that they're pinch hitting for a lot more guys than
Yeah.
The Braves don't pinch hit for any of their lineup regulars for the most part. Braves 571 slugging percentage from pinch hitters, the best among the 29 teams that have more than 3 plate appearances from pinch hitters. The White Sox never pinch hit.
They just don't do it, huh?
They never pinch hit. They have a home run every 8.75 pinch hit at bats. That's impressive. Only 2 other teams even have a better ratio than 1 every 16 at bats. And the only 2 teams besides the Braves and Giants that even have more than one. Oh, there are only 2 other teams besides the Braves and Giants that even have more than 1 pinch hit homer. So, I mean, that's a big plus to be able to work with that and know that you don't have to take care of that from this point. You're set with that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're facing a bench bat, Pablo Sandoval's one of the last guys you want to face.
Yeah,
you don't know what's going to happen. He's going to put together a good at bat. He could take you deep. He might shoot one the other way.
Might draw a walk.
He might draw a walk. He's a nice luxury for this team to have.
Yeah. Yeah, they haven't had one as good as him in a while. By the way, Adam Duvall had that huge series against the Braves, and everybody's like, "We should have signed him. We should have re-signed him." And I was among that group that felt, actually. Well, overall, he's having a pretty lousy season. I mean, I love Adam Duvall, but he's hitting 188, 4 homers. But 3 of those came in that series. 235 OBP, 635 OPS, and get this, 32 strikeouts in 80 at bats. That is a lot of strikeouts.
Florida's a lot tougher park to hit in too.
Yeah.
You fall into that trap there trying to do too much with those deep fences.
Yeah.
He might just be a guy that loves hitting at Truist, and if he was here, he might have different numbers. But yeah.
Yeah. They could have used him as a 4th outfielder. There's no doubt. But Guillermo Heredia has been terrific.
He's filled in
role,
great.
So yeah.
All
right, hey, we gotta make some money. Let's sell some ads. Cam, the producer. What do you got for us, Cam?
Yeah, let's do it. Today's episode of 755 is Real is brought to you by the SoFi Daily Podcast. Did you know 37% of Americans would struggle to cover an unexpected $400 expense? April is National Financial Literacy Month, which means it's time to expand your financial knowledge. And that all starts with having the right information. For facts, analysis, and updates related to markets and financial awareness, listen to the SoFi Daily Podcast every weekday. Search for SoFi wherever you get your podcasts. And David's possibly favorite ad read ever, Magic Spoon, which he's compared the delicious cereal to Kix. He's the only one old enough to know what Kix is. Very healthy cereal, 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, only 4 net grams of carbs in each serving, 140 calories per serving.
It's good stuff too.
Yeah, we were just talking about that, how much you love it before you dipped out on us. I said this was your favorite ad read. So, and I
love
said,
that stuff.
I also said you were the only one old enough to know what Kix cereal is. So,
wow.
It's keto friendly, gluten free, grain free, soy free, low carb, and GMO free. And you can almost get it for free by going to magicspoon.com promo real,
Well, I wouldn't go
REAL.
that far, but
You save $5 off. Use the code REAL as well at checkout to save $5 off your order. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember, get your next delicious bowl of guilt-free cereal at magicspoon.com/real and use the promo code REAL to save $5 off.
and you know what you can do to stretch it out? You can mix it with some plain tasting cereal that doesn't have any kind of a sweetener at all. I'm like a chemist with this stuff, man.
Walter White.
I'll mix it with some like regular plain Cheerios, then put some blueberries or bananas on that. Oh man, you're talking. You're living right there. And that way you stretch your silver spoon out a little bit.
Thanks, Cam.
Your
Magic Spoon.
Your magic spoon. Magic spoon, baby. Get it. It's good stuff. Silver spoon. Oh, all right. Hey, so speaking of Ozuna, he homered for the second consecutive night last night after homering once in the first 23 games. Ozzy Albies had yet another double. He is a doubles machine. And Austin Riley drove in another run. So the Braves lost that game last night, but it was more than enough kind of positives considering how much they hit in the first 3 games of that series. And Eric, tell me how tough it is to sweep a 4-game series. It doesn't matter how bad you are or how good you are. It's tough to sweep a team in a 4-game series.
Tough to sweep a double-A team.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just baseball. That's why you don't freak out early on, and there's just so many games. But it just seems like it never happens. Even, something freaky will happen and you'll lose the series. But
yeah, one of your starters is going to have a bad night.
Yeah, and they'll just hit one day for no reason at all. Whatever it is, if it's a mismatch. Baseball's not like, basketball and football where the better team seems to almost always win. It's
right.
Just there's so much fluky stuff in baseball and so much luck. It's really hard to sweep 4 games. But those guys hitting and taking 3 out of 4, even if you think you're a better team than the Cubs, it's a good feeling.
Yeah, one of your starters is going to have a bad night, or one of the other starters, the other team starters, is going to
lock in. He could have a 6 ERA and throw 6 shutout for no reason.
And that dude pitched well last night for the Cubs.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
good breaking ball.
While the Braves had a bullpen game, and Wilson went 3 innings on short rest. So
yeah,
there you go. 9-3 loss in the series finale. They left town though feeling really good about the strides they had made. It was you don't see a kind of turnaround as quick as the Braves got between Sunday, the low point of the season, low point in recent years. I thought that doubleheader. It's been years since they looked that bad for a whole day.
Yeah,
they went from that to leaving town last night feeling really good about the homestand, 7-game homestand, 4-3 record. No big whoops, but the 3 wins against the Cubs Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday were really impressive, and they got so many more guys going offensively.
Convincing.
Yeah, and that's what they've been waiting for. We knew it was coming, but it took longer than anybody expected. But now you leave going, all right, now you guys are starting to go. I mean, Austin Riley's in a real role. Ozzy's hitting now. Ozuna's showing signs of waking up. Acuna still keeps raking. Dansby's look good. So it's a different situation now than it was Sunday when they just looked pathetic against the Diamondbacks in that doubleheader.
Yeah, I think you'll start seeing a lot more of those comeback wins too with the bats going. Yeah, I mean they won so many games last year where they got a bad start. They were down 5 runs and just started chipping away, and they just haven't been able to do that. In April, there's no pennant given out in April, but you'll start seeing them making those big comebacks they were making in the past again, as long as that bottom half gets going.
And it's funny you said that because last night was the first night that I felt they were down 5-0, and it was
They're
the
still
first.
in this.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I haven't felt that all year.
Yeah, and that you felt that the entire year, the last 2 years.
Exactly.
Any game was still a close game, even if they were down 5.
They did not come back obviously last night, but I felt like they could. They were just
Yeah.
a couple of guys getting on base and a 3-run homer, and boom, you're back in it. So,
Yep.
What have I got? Oh, here. Let me see this. They got where was I? Yeah, Cam threw me off. Cam had some breaking news there, but no.
Wasn't important. Clean it up, Cam.
No, Cam thought it was important. It's not really important. The Roberto Alomar stuff this morning, that was ugly.
I didn't see that. What was it?
He's banned and fired and all that. Sexual you'll have to look it up, but he said some things to somebody he shouldn't have said some things to. And they've stripped his banners off the rafters at Toronto. They're going at the ballpark, and he is now out of a job. The Hall of Fame, this is a slippery slope. The Hall of Fame now is saying, when he was voted on, he was eligible, so he'll remain. They're disappointed, but he will remain. His bust will remain in the Hall of Fame and all that. And, I heard Mad Dog Russo say something this morning, and I agreed with him. It's like, okay, so because he was eligible when they voted on him, they're going to leave his bust up. But yet they've never made Pete Rose eligible to be voted on. And he's been banned for life, and he's never had a chance to get voted on. And if you put Pete Rose's name out there for us to vote on, I got to think there's 70% or close to it that I know I'd vote for him. I always would have, because I always thought Pete Rose, what he did as a player is why he should be in the Hall of Fame. And that what he did as a manager, betting on, I still haven't seen where he bet on his own team. And if he did bet on his own team, he didn't bet on his own team to lose. He bet on him to win. So what did he do? Tried to win.
Well, I've thought about that though. I mean, there's some tricky bets you can make with spreads and stuff like that. If he needed a certain spread or an over under,
or he might have used a guy he shouldn't
use a different reliever and hit that over.
Nevertheless, I think Pete Rose, for what he did as a player, belonged in the Hall of Fame.
Hit king.
And I'm the guy that will not vote steroid guys in. I know that, but to me, it's not. I'm not being hypocritical. I think it's two different things. But anyway, especially nowadays when the MLB is embracing gambling,
Yeah.
Not by players, not by the people in the game, but everybody else.
DraftKings ads everywhere.
Yeah, on the stadium walls, and just in advertising. There's only a matter of time it's going to be a ballpark named for one of those places. DraftKings Stadium. They're not going to stop them. So anyway, we got off track there. The homestand. Austin Riley said, I think it was a really good homestand. A lot of things clicked for some guys. Just hope to continue, keep rolling on this road trip coming up. But I'm very pleased with the homestand. Snit said the same thing. They play the Blue Jays, then they play the Nationals. So got a chance to do so, especially the Nationals. They're kind of dinged up and they're struggling. They got a chance to have a winning road trip. And that's all you ever look for on a road trip, is to have a winning record, or at least split
even
on the road
500.
Trip.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even if they went negative on this homestand, just seeing the bats get going.
Yeah.
Because you got so much time, that's what's really been missing. Even if they lost a couple
3 and 4 on the homestand.
Yeah, even if they went 3 and 4, I'd call it a good homestand, just seeing the bats get going.
And then you come back and you face the Phillies. So now those are the two teams tied for first place in the division with 12 and 13 records.
Yeah.
That's
going to be like that all year.
Right. I mean, everybody says, so much for the NL East being the best division. But we knew that no team in this division was going to win 95 to 100 games. I said that at the start of the year, that somebody's going to win it with about 89, 90 wins, I think.
Yeah.
And we also said that we didn't think the wild card would come from the division, because these teams are going to beat each other up all year. And that's what so far they have.
Yep.
There's
no spread. Everybody's pretty competitive. You don't have a couple teams like the Diamondbacks and Rockies that the Dodgers and Padres can stack their wins against. There's maybe the Nationals being beat up, you could stack a few wins, but for the most part, it's going to be the teams you're going to play the most are all competitive.
The Nationals have not been as good as we thought because they've had more pitching injuries.
Soto
right, he hasn't done anything yet. So, but they can get going at any time. But like the Phillies, parts of their game are better than what I expected. The Marlins, we knew it was going to take a while for them to put it together, but any night they're capable with those arms they have of doing something. So the division is still, I think, is still really tough, and I think these teams are going to beat each other up all year, and I don't think anybody's going to win it by 10 games.
No, and you can look through division, like Lindor's not hitting. Like there's teams that
He's getting booed, and
there's teams that are going to get going too.
And Thor's going to be back for the Mets. They've already had good pitching, and Syndergaard's going to be back for long. And Lindor's going to start hitting.
Yeah.
It's not unusual to go there and struggle initially. He's feeling pressure. He got that big contract. They start booing you because they're idiots. You can't be booing your guy like that right off the bat. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, he just got to not take it personal. Everybody gets booed in New York when they struggle, but
New York and Philly, you're going to get booed.
The one thing you don't want to have happen is it turn into a Jason Bay situation. And I mean, I think it does a lot when a fan base supports you when you struggle.
Yep.
Like that's why guys love playing for St. Louis, because that type of stuff's not going to happen. But New York's a different fan base, and that's what makes it tougher to play there. I don't think he dealt with any of that in Cleveland, but he'll adjust to it because he's just too good.
Yeah, I mean it's real when some people say when certain guys don't want to go play in New York, they know they might not be great there, and other guys you say I don't think he's a New York type player. That is real, man.
Yeah.
You can't say that about any other town, but that's real. There is pressure to play there because if you don't play well and you got a big contract, they are going to let you hear it. No matter how nice you are, how good looking you are, how friendly you are, you got to play there or you're going to get booed.
And you'd be the greatest dude on earth. You're not, I mean, they'd rather have a scumbag hitting 350.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely, and the media pressure, if you struggle in Cleveland,
you're probably in New York.
You're probably answering questions to 4 reporters in Cleveland when you're struggling.
Yeah.
When you're struggling in New York, another dude on your team can go 4 for 4 with 4 homers. The media is going to be at the dude struggling.
Yeah.
That they're going to be at his locker. There's going to be 25 people standing around your locker waiting for you to shower up and come talk to him. While Conforto hit 3 homers today, he's already left. Nobody even mentioned it. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast in New York. So a lot of guys do struggle with that.
You were there. You saw it, man.
Yeah, I saw it. I got eaten alive there. I wasn't right before I got there, so I went at a bad time in my career, but playing there definitely didn't help my situation at all.
And when you say media, and it's not necessarily the beat writers, I mean, they're fair and everything, but it's those back page headline writers. The tabloids are competing against each other.
Yep.
And they will turn on you so fast. Look at the Dark Knight. Look how how he was the king of New York for a year. And then he was the dreg and just got ripped on the back pages when he did something stupid.
But they were stacking that info. They waited for him to struggle.
Yeah.
When he was king of New York and he got stuck in traffic or something.
Yeah.
I don't know what the story was, but that kind of stuff, Harvey he'd pull off a lot and get away with it when he was putting up numbers. And, the mistake a lot of guys buy into is they think that people really love you. And then it hurts their feelings when they find out the truth that all these people aren't on my side. They're just
absolutely.
I mean, I think that caught up with him a lot. But it's definitely, man, it's a tough place to play. But that's part of why I think that they always struggle and have so much background chaos and drama going on is the factor of the media and the fans and even their announcers, man. Like if you mess up a play, those announcers just toast their players, and they're almost,
the Mets announcers do.
The Mets announcers. I mean,
not the Yankees.
No, the Mets announcers though will torch their players every time they do something stupid. Those players. Guys, yeah, they hate. They're muted in the clubhouse. Like Keith Hernandez his voice isn't making it through those speakers. But I also find myself if I'm choosing between the 2 games. Yeah. The 2 feeds.
Oh yeah.
I always tune into the Mets feed just to see what they're saying. So
they're really good, man.
They're good.
Good.
They're good.
You gotta like broadcasters who don't give a shit. Who have their station in life. They made their money. They have their reputations, and they're not going to kowtow to anybody. You want to fire me? Fire me. You're going to get ripped for it, but I got plenty of things I can do. And if I need to retire right now, that's fine.
Yeah.
Keith Hernandez strikes me as that type of guy.
Yeah, he doesn't care. He calls it like it is.
Ron Darling's good. I mean, those guys are good, man.
It rubs you wrong as a player, but I think their fan base kind of likes it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't help if you're struggling as a player and the announcers are saying it on TV like, oh boy, he looks terrible. I mean, it just kind of feeds into it.
And it's why everybody has always said that it's so amazing that Derek Jeter played his entire career in New York and never had a scandal, never had being ripped on the back page. He could struggle for a while, but he had so built up so much, in reservoir as a good guy and a performer, big game performer, that he never got ripped. He never got in trouble. And he dated a string of women. I mean,
all of them,
beauty queens, actresses,
yeah.
all the women. Never heard a whiff of controversy with that guy. I mean, it's amazing what he did.
No. I mean, he's probably got the most respect from players of any baseball player ever. Everything he pulled off. Partying like he did, and being able to maintain and handle that whole situation. People try to rip on him for not having the best range at shortstop, but I'm just like, you know how much pressure was on that guy compared to the dude you love that was playing in Cleveland and making plays in the hole.
Yeah.
I mean, he had so much more that could have gone wrong in his career and so much more to handle than your average guy. And he did it forever with no scandals.
Yeah. And compare that to, say, A-Rod in New York.
Yeah.
And he had some big years there too, A-Rod.
Yeah.
The Jeter thing, so much of the Jeter stuff is jealousy and envy, man. I mean, guys want to be him, opposing teams hated what he did to them. He got voted. He was the only guy that got voted both most overrated and most underrated player by players,
Yeah.
I mean, opposing fans hated him. He's a good looking dude. He gets so much attention and all that. But I mean, year after year after year, he was solid. Anybody wanted him on their team. Anybody.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, he's a legend for sure.
It's like Chipper. I mean, it's like Chipper. Opposing teams hated him. They hated how he looked, how he smirked, how he did it, but they would have loved to have had him on their team,
Yeah.
But Jeter did it without the smirks and everything. He just
yeah, he didn't have to.
But that's Chipper's style, man. I mean, Chipper's like
I love watching old videos of Chipper when he was young, because he didn't do a lot of that stuff. Later on in his career, he was pretty calm about it. But
he was cocky when he was young.
When you watch those videos of a cocky young Chipper Jones, man, it gets me fired up. I never got to see that side of him.
Yeah, I covered the Marlins when he was like that, and they hated him, and Marlins fans hated him, but they also knew he was great, and they'd love to have had him. Yeah. But I remember covering that guy and thinking, man, he's cocky. But I love cocky young guys like that. But they can back it up. If they can't back it up, and they're just a decent player and that cocky, I don't like that at all. But when you're great, like Chipper was, and you're cocky, give me that any day of the week, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the situation where your teammates have your back and love you because they know how good you are, and you're good in the clubhouse. You do what you got to do on the field.
He was like Acuna with the swagger, but it wasn't the fun smile and all that, like Acuna laughing at everything. Chipper just came across as, I'm bad, man. I'm a badass. Don't mess with me.
He still is. He still is.
He's one of a kind, man.
Yeah.
The Ozuna home run last night, 114.3 off the bat, which is common for Acuna. But it went 479 feet, man. That was tied for the longest that Ozuna has hit in the StatCast era since 2015.
Too short of Acuna, right? Because Acuna hit 481.
In the same, like 3 days earlier.
Yeah.
It was the third longest in the majors this year, behind Acuna's 481-foot drive Tuesday. And the White Sox, Yerman her Mercedes hit 485. So the Braves have got a couple of guys that hit some. And add Riley to that mix. They got some guys that hit them a long way.
Yeah, and those are fun to see. I mean, that goes back to what has made this team so fun to watch the last few years. You might see something like that.
Yeah.
Acuna coming up, anything he does is must-see TV, but you got a few more guys in the lineup that can do that. I mean, you watch the fans when something like that happens, man, that's what they came out to the park to see.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, they're not bored. Even when they're, scuffling, they're not a boring team. That game, that doubleheader Sunday, that was boring.
That was sucked.
But it was like struggling just brought them down too. It was like it was a rare time where after like 4 innings, you felt like they were just mailing in because nothing was going their way.
Yeah. And it's hard to be having fun when you get your ass kicked.
And the opposing pitcher in both games was just shoving up their butt, man. I mean, it's just dominating. So
yeah.
So, there was something, Paul Bird had talked to a couple of people with the Cubs, I think it was. They were talking about how much fun the Braves players seem to have and everything. And I've seen that from a lot of other opposing players, especially when they're like become free agents, and a couple of them signed with the Braves have said that part of the appeal was seeing the Braves, how much fun they had playing their team. So, and Snit was asked about this exuberance that they seem to play, this genuine joy that his players seem to have. And he said, I think it's a lot of that is the reasons why they've been successful the last few years. They're resilient as hell, but they love to play and they love to compete and they have fun. And, Snit loves guys having fun playing baseball. He's old school, but he loves guys having fun playing the game like they're kids, playing it because it's a game. People forget it's a game. It's a kid's game. And these guys have fun doing it. So, but I was thinking about it, and I just don't think that what the Braves do comes across as malicious or mocking to the opponent. So I don't think people have a problem with it like they do with some teams who have some cocky type players. It's different.
Yeah, it's the way you interact too. You get on first base with Freddie. He's not being a douchebag. He's talking to guys. It's there's confidence and then there's arrogance. There's a big difference in it. And then there's having fun and then there's just rubbing it in people's faces. Nobody likes to have it rubbed in their face, but like you said earlier, none of their energy is going toward the other team's dugout. If you watch that Padres-Dodgers series, that Grisham dude, he runs around third base after a homer off of Kershaw, and he's yelling at the Dodgers dugout. As an opponent, you'd much rather see them just keeping it to themselves and celebrating within each other than throwing it at you. And that's when teams start getting pissed off. And the Braves, they never really crossed that line.
No, they're not. They've had guys in the past that have like rounded the bases, yelling at infielders, yelling at the Braves infielders, like that one time.
Carlos Gomez.
Yeah, when Max stood at home plate and didn't let him cross the plate, took his mask off and got his face. Braves don't have guys that do that. Acuna has he's rounding the bases, he's doing all this stuff, but he's not talking shit to the opposing team. And Ozuna, he's just running around the bases, smiling, but he's never looking at his life. He's never looking at the pitcher going, yeah, he's just having fun. So it's different. Yep. It's different. It's a fine line, but it's an obvious line. It's a clear line.
Yeah.
And when you've got Freddie at first base, like you mentioned, he's the Sean Casey of the game today. He is the mayor. He's the friendliest guy at first base. There's some other ones, Rizzo's like that, but Freddie is the friendliest guy. He talks to 95% of the guys that get to first base. Yeah. And you see him having a conversation with Freddie. Latin guys, white guys, everybody smiling and laughing with Freddie. He breaks the ice with all these guys. He tells guys, nice at bat. Rookies come up there and have their first hit. Real nice at bat, impressive. He makes everybody feel happy, man. So when that's your kind of your face person, really sets a tone for the whole team. When that first baseman, Freddie, is so friendly to everybody.
Yeah, it's definitely different though. You watch. I appreciate that Dodgers Padres series just as much, where they hate each other.
There's no doubt. I like those rivalries.
I love that. I don't know which team the Braves could build that with, but that'd be fun to see too if there was a team that they just hated, and it could develop later on in the year. You had it a little bit with the Marlins when they were hitting Acuna, but that side of the game is really fun too. But all their stuff they do, it's more within their own, it's to themselves. It's not like they're rubbing it in opponent's face. And I think that's why nobody really seems to have a problem with it. And if they were doing this 10, 15 years ago, it wouldn't matter how they were doing it, it'd be a problem, but the game's changed. And I think most teams are embracing it.
They might have that with the Phillies, except Freddie is so good friends with Bryce Harper. It makes it hard, for them. Yeah. When every time Bryce gets to first base, you see him over there laughing like, hey, what'd you do last night? So it's like, we haven't even mentioned this because we had the last podcast was on Monday when they were coming off the doubleheader. If the Braves keep this going, the turnaround of the season is going to be viewed as the burning of the sage by Dansby Swanson, which obviously was probably a total coincidence, but whatever. He burns the sage Monday afternoon. He walks around the field. He goes in the clubhouse. He goes in the bat room. Freddie said, make sure you get the bats. The game bats are in a shopping cart in a bat room behind lock and key. Dansby goes in there, goes in Snit's office when Snit's in there still. Snit was like, with the burning sage, which is supposed to like cleanse places of negative energy and all that. Took it out to the bullpen. He made sure he took it out there, walked across the field, took it out to the bullpen. Did this hours before the game Monday. And they exploded that night after coming off the doubleheader, and they haven't looked back since. So the burning of the sage is going to be the turning point if the Braves keep this going.
Whatever it takes, I mean, whatever stupid shit you got to do to just to have a reason to feel good, take the edge off. And more than anything, it just emphasizes that we're at rock bottom. You make a
Right.
joke out of it, you make it comical.
Right.
It's like a reset for the team's mentality. And now they got a joke, that they run with. You got this sage. They'll probably have that burning all year whenever they get in trouble now. But those little things are what get you through a long season.
Well, Dansby made a good point to that effect. Dansby said it was almost like Sunday was rock bottom, and it was so bad that it was almost comical.
It was.
So it was like you hit a reset. It was better
Yeah.
than just getting beat, 6-3 and 9-4 in a doubleheader. They got just destroyed. They got one hit in 2 games, and they were like, okay, that's it. Can't go any lower. Now let's move forward and reset. And then he brings the Sage out. It's like Freddie said, I don't know if it works, but it's more just a mental thing and a fun thing to try and forget about Sunday. He said that was a good thing for us chemistry wise. So Dansby with the timing, that was perfect.
Yeah, but also that's leadership too. I mean, if your leaders and Dansby's a leader now, he's in that role. He's been with the team a long time. If your leaders come in and they're just, down and sulking and I don't know what's wrong with us, and you're talking to the media and everybody's just, grasping for straws, trying to figure out what's going on and down on themselves, that energy carries into the game. When you make a joke out of it, it's just whatever. Let's just go play. I mean, it can't get any worse than yesterday. And when you acknowledge those things, I mean, it's a hard reset for the team.
So what they do in the next 3 games after getting 1 hit in 14 innings and no runs against the Diamondbacks, the next 3 games they hit 342 collectively, 8 home runs, 10 doubles, 649 team slugging percentage, and outscored the Cubs 23-7 in those 3 wins. They had 5 homers and 18 hits in a 10-0 rout Wednesday. I saw something where they had more WAR in those 3 games than anybody in the majors, like it in 3 games all year or something. It was crazy. So I mean, it was just a huge talk about a reset. That's the one way you can completely forget what happened Sunday in a hurry.
Yeah, and you can also talk about that from try doing that in New York.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to have that hard reset because when you start walking around burning sage, it's almost like a white flag. And then if you don't hit, the media is going to just jump all over that. I mean, that'll be on the back page.
No
I
doubt.
think that it's easier to do that type of stuff in Atlanta, but it's the media is so good in Atlanta that there's not that pressure, which is nice.
They, in 3 days, boosted their team OPS 50 points. In 3 days. We're 25 games in. We're not a weekend, so that's tough to do.
No.
To 760, which was tied with Cincinnati for second highest in the majors before last night. I mean, they went from everybody saying what's happening to the offense to having the second highest OPS in the majors.
Yeah.
Before last night.
That can happen. That that's my favorite. My 2 favorite quotes about baseball that kind of get you through those things, or sayings, is one: don't ride the roller coaster, because if you're riding those highs and lows, it's mentally taxing to be thinking you suck as bad as you suck when you suck, and you're as good as you are when you're hot. And then water finds its level. And guys pointed that out to me early on in my career, that you see these guys that seem to put up the same numbers every year. But one year they're hitting $150 in mid-May, and you look at them at the end of the year, and there they are at 279 again with their 30 homers. I mean, that's just, there's so much time in a baseball season. It's hard not to ride the roller coaster, but as a team, you got to stay off it.
And I thought that was why last year people are going to look back at last year, and they're going to see some superstars and the numbers they had last year, and they're going to stand out. It's because
they didn't have the time.
Because there's no doubt in my mind, some of those guys, like Arenado, Yelich, by the end of the year would have had normal seasons.
Yeah, and you get hot in July, and
they had 100 games to go.
You hit 405 in July with 12 homers, and you look back, and now I'm only 10 points below my career average. I mean, that's kind of the stuff that happens in a baseball season. And that's why the hardest thing is for young guys, to not get too wrapped up in that and trust that they're good enough, but the veteran guys, they know where they're going to be at the end of the year.
And besides just the sheer number of runs and hits that the Braves got in the series, like we said, mentioned a while ago, the biggest thing was all of a sudden it's not just Acuna carrying the offense, which he
Yeah.
did for pretty much for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you're getting Riley and Ozzy Albies and Freddie and Dansby are all contributing. So, and Darno had a couple of big hits. So that was the big thing for me, is coming off that, coming out of the homestand, is you feel like now you got guys going, and Acuna doesn't feel like he has to carry the offense, which didn't seem to bother him. He still carried it, but man, they were putting way too much pressure on that kid at the top of the lineup to have to do everything. It was like if he had a bad game, they had no chance.
Yeah, it's over
for the first 3 weeks. He had to do something. Yeah. So Wednesday, Freddie had 4 for 5 with a double, 2 runs, 3 RBIs, and his 7th home run of the season. None of the Cubs pitchers got him out. We mentioned Rizzo was the only guy that got him out in that game. But that was a big for Freddie. He's got 10 of those games so far in his career where he's had at least 4 hits and 1 home run. And the only guys in the organization that have had more are all Hall of Famers: Hank Aaron, Eddie, Matthews, and Chipper.
Well, Freddie's a Hall of Famer for me. I had the conversation with some baseball people 5 years ago, and I said, I think this guy's a Hall of Famer. And they were like, I'm not sure. But even at that time, I thought he was.
Yeah. If for some reason Freddie retired today, for some reason, he's in the Hall of Fame. But if he, he's going to play another 5 to 10 years, probably 10 more years. I think if Freddie has 5 more solid years, I think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, probably. Yeah. But he's certainly a Hall of Famer, no doubt. If he just has 5 more good years, I mean, they don't have to be his best year, but just 5 more of his average years. He's a Hall of Famer.
Well, and the thing with him is that he's just so damn consistent. I mean, it's year after year after year.
As long as he's healthy.
He hasn't had a year where he just hit 240.
No. As long as he's healthy, he does the same.
He rakes. Yeah. Which is, I mean, that for me is a big definition of a Hall of Famer too. Even the guys that get knocked for being number compilers. Yeah. Being able to just be consistently playing at a high major league level for a long time that's almost harder than being really good for 5 years. Yeah.
There's not many of the guys that can be both spectacular and steady. I mean, those are your Mike Trouts, your type of guys like that. And Freddie has been pretty steady and he has had some spectacular years. Like last year was spectacular. If you look at his OPS plus and all those things. I mean, he was spectacular last year.
He's never not a threat. I mean, you play a series against the Braves, Freddie Freeman's a threat every time you play him, and you're aware of him. And his defense too. I mean, it kind of gets overlooked because he's playing first base, but he picks everything forever. Right. He always has.
And goes up and gets stuff 8.5, 9 feet in the air, easy.
Sprints to the bag to pick up the pitcher that doesn't cover. I mean, for me, he's a Hall of Famer. I've thought so for a long time.
And Acuna's obviously joining that group of the steady and spectacular.
Yeah.
Doubly spectacular.
Well, yeah, he might. He's not even at his ceiling yet. Some of the bats he's having this year, I'm watching and I'm like,
he's just ridiculous.
It might get overblown a little bit because I feel like he had pretty good at bats last year and walked more than I give him credit for. But this year, I mean, he's taking balls a quarter inch below the zone. I mean, he's having incredible at bats this year, and he's just getting started.
I mean, we just think every time, how much better can he get? But every year,
there's no answer to that.
He's gotten better.
Yeah.
He gets himself in a little better shape, and look at him. He's better still.
Yeah.
Faster still. God, he can fly.
And he's going to keep maturing and getting stronger too.
Cam, we got any more ads you need to read?
Yeah, 2 more. Let's hit them real quick, and then we'll get to the next part of the show.
All right, go ahead.
Small businesses have always shown an incredible ability to adapt, innovate, and survive, even more so this past year. Now, another way you can adapt and grow is by finding the right people to help grow your business. LinkedIn Jobs helps you do that for free. Get started by posting your job for free to reach LinkedIn's network of 740 million professionals. Fill out targeted screening questions to get your role in front of the most qualified candidates with the experience, skills, and motivation you need. Then, with simple filtering and management tools, you can easily review, rate, and hone in on your top candidates. LinkedIn Jobs can help you hire the right person for your role. And your first job post is free. Just visit linkedin.com/real. Again, that's linkedin.com/real to post your first job for free. Terms and conditions apply. And also, if you feel like you're coming up short in the bedroom sometimes, it's perfectly okay. But if it's bothering you, there are some options. Go to getroman.com/755 now. With Roman, you can get a free online evaluation and ongoing care for ED, all from the comfort and privacy of your home. A U.S. licensed healthcare professional will work with you to find the best treatment plan. If medication is appropriate, it ships to you free with 2-day shipping. Getting started is simple. Just go to GetRoman.com/755 and complete an online visit. Again, GetRoman.com/755 to get $15 off your first month. Look, there's a straightforward way to take care of your ED, and that's by visiting GetRoman.com/755 to save $15 on your first month of treatment.
What's the shipping for that? Is that 2 days you sure? Is that what you said?
Yeah, free 2-day shipping.
2-day shipping.
Dave was gone until the Roman ad came on. He locked in real quick. He came right back.
Heard it from the other room.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Braves got back to 500, 12-12 before they lost last night, 12-13. Tied with Phillies, 12-13, top of division. This division, they're going to beat each other up all year, man. We've talked about that. There's no team with a 500 record right now, which is crazy. But then again, we didn't think anybody was going to run away with this thing. We said coming into the year that I didn't think anybody was going to win more than 95 games, and I didn't think the wild card was going to come out of this division because they're going to beat each other up all year.
Yeah, but for me, the only team that could run away with it is the Braves. You know, if you had to pick somebody to do that, because I mean they're in it right now. I haven't looked at the standings, but they're either in first or a game back, and they've played like
tied with Phillies.
They're tied, so they've played like I'd say 65% of their potential.
Yeah, I mean they've looked terrible for
two
of those 3 weeks.
Yeah,
2 of the 4 weeks.
It was panic mode for a lot of people early on.
Here they are in first place.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what you expect out of this division.
So as prolific as the offense has been in those wins, it also during the homestand, I thought it was good. They showed a glimpse of how good the starting rotation can be with Charlie Morton, who everybody's going to look at the ERA if they haven't watched the games and go, he's been a disappointment. Not at all. He's had 3 bad innings, 1 bad one in 3 different starts. Rest of the time, he's been pretty dominant, right? I mean, his stuff's as good as ever.
He looks the same as when he was 25, stuff wise, and he knows how to pitch now. I mean, for him, it's just going to be a matter of how long he wants to keep doing it, but he's not showing any signs of falling off a cliff.
He's 37.
He's 37. I mean, to still be able to do that at 37 is not easy, but he looks great doing it. For me, it's like if without those couple bad innings, and you could say that for a lot of pitchers, but it's watching him pitch, it's watching how dominant the rest of the start, is, and then just seeing that one inning's kind of catching up with him, that even if his numbers aren't there, I feel pretty confident every time he takes them out.
Yeah, his other innings too. He's not like getting out of jams. His other innings are clean.
Dealing.
He's dominant. Yeah. There's 3 or 4 batters in like every inning. I mean, he's dealing
strikes, making, and he makes. They're just quality pitch after quality pitch. Good movement on it, keeping the ball where he wants it. He's not getting like when he has that one bad inning, it's not like he skated through to the 5th and then gave up a 3 spot. He was dominant to the 5th. Yeah. He wasn't giving up a lot of hard hit balls, and then he just has that one bad inning. Huddy used to do that a lot. Huddy would be dominant until the 4th or 5th inning. Then he'd give up a 3 spot, and then he'd cruise for 2 more. He'd just have that one bad inning too. But I mean, when you watch Charlie, there's nothing alarming at all.
Ian Anderson had a couple of starts at the beginning of the year. He's looked terrific his last 3. I mean, he's been absolutely sharp as hell. He's looked like last year's form now. He's got back to that. And again, it's just such a different look coming straight over the top like he does, man.
Yeah.
He's elite. I think he's elite. I mean, he's still a rookie, but I think he's 23 years old.
Yeah, and when the confidence he had to say, I just start slow, that's not something you see out of a kid his age. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to go into panic mode.
He wasn't like searching for answers, man. He's like,
no,
I just start slow.
Yeah, I mean, nobody believes you. Like when you say those type of things, you're looking at the reporters back in the eye, and they're like, "Yeah, okay," like you look like shit, and you kind of it's hard to sell that, but to have the confidence to say it and then come back out and back it up is pretty cool.
Especially since you're a rookie and you only made like 6 starts last year, so there's people that go, last year was a fluke. Now that teams know you, and now you're but.
Everybody, there's always going to be people that want it to be a fluke, and that's one of the hardest things to fight.
Yeah, he knows how good he is, man. but like we said, the most pleasant surprise has been Huascar Noah. I mean, this guy is, you're getting freed back from the injured list. He's going to start probably Tuesday against the Nationals. He's going to definitely come back during that series. This has been an opportunity for this hamstring injury for Fried to hit a reset. Kind of hopefully he hopes like that offense did, because I'm expecting him to pitch a lot better when he comes back. If you get him back now, you got Noah doing what he's doing, you got Anderson doing what he's doing, and you got Charlie
and Soroka on his way back. That's the other thing about it is you've done this so far. You're tied for first place with the Fried pitched like ass and then got hurt. Soroka's not even here yet. You got reinforced. You're going to get better than you are right now. And you got to this place with no offense.
No bullpen depth so far. And the rotation has been statistically one of the worst in the majors until the last week or so.
Yep.
And they're getting a lot better in a hurry.
Yeah.
So if you start getting 6-7 innings out of those guys, like you got 7 the other day from Anderson, you got 6 and 5 1/3 from Noah, even though he wasn't as stretched out as the others. And now he's getting there. He threw 101 pitches in his last outing.
Yeah.
And Charlie, Charlie can go, so he'll start going 6 probably. He's been doing 5 at least. All of a sudden you get 6-7 innings instead of 3 and 4. Your bullpen can cover that. You can cover that. They got enough guys to cover more. That. Right.
You can put guys in better positions than when you take your starter out in the 4th, everybody gets thrown off. All of a sudden you're bringing guys that are used to pitching the 7th or 8th inning, the 5th inning and 6th inning, and stretching them out longer. They're more exposed. Once you start getting those deep starts and you can give a guy that's struggling a layup outing, you could, even if say Nuke's struggling, you can bring him in the 7th to face a lefty in a good matchup with 2 outs and just let him blow him away and ride that high. You can't do that stuff when you're getting 3 innings out of your starter. You need him to go 2.
So you hung in there without Nuke for the last 2 weeks, but most importantly, without Chris Martin. People forget he hasn't pitched since the first weekend of the season. Mm-hmm. He's probably your best relief pitcher. He comes back during this trip. He's going to be back. So all of a sudden you get Martin and Newcomb. That bullpen all of a sudden is much better than it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've had to rely on guys like Biddle lately. Because everybody's dinged up and you weren't very deep to begin with. Well, that changes now. It should.
Yeah.
Talked about Austin Riley real quick. He had 182 with a 2 and no extra base hits in his first 15 games. That's when everybody start going, well, the Riley experiment, is it about over? I just don't think he's a long-term guy and all that. Well, Snit knows that you got to be patient with these guys. It's not like he had many other options either, but he's going to be like Bob. He's going to be patient with these young hitters, and it's paying off now because Riley has been last 10 games. Riley's hit 483, 605 OBP, 862 OPS. The guy's got as many walks as strikeouts in that span, which to me is important. Raised his batting average more than 100 points and his OPS by more than 400 points. He's now got a 416 OBP. He's 8th in the NL.
We've talked about that before, though, how important it is to instill that confidence in a guy that's struggling. If Riley had to look over his shoulder every time he went, 1 for 16, that he might be done. It might be going back down to AAA. He might not get out of that slump. But Snick giving him that boost of confidence and sticking with him and giving him time to figure it out. That's what we saw with a lot of guys with COVID last year. They knew after they had that first bad month, they didn't have time to get out of it.
Yeah.
Even if they were superstars with a lot of time in the game. So I think that's another thing Snit's really good at is just giving guys time to get out of their slumps and sticking with them. Bullpen, bats, starters, everybody. He's sticking with his guys. He's got confidence in them.
And lineup, he doesn't drop guys like Ozuna, with a 500 OPS. He doesn't drop him to 7th in the order, 6th in the order. He keeps him in that spot. Says, "You're my guy. I'm sticking with you, man. We're gonna ride or die with you guys."
That messes with guys' heads a lot when it's a shooting all over the lineup, because it's just a reinforcement that you've been sucking lately. It's just another thing. It's just another reminder that things aren't going your way. But when you stick with that guy and pat him on the ass and tell him to go get him tonight, it's they don't take that with them out there. They just go out there and play.
And last thing, I mentioned Albies earlier. He gets overlooked by his buddy Acuna doing what he's doing, by other Freddie doing what he's doing. But Ozzy got dropped in the lineup. He's the one guy that got for a while got dropped, but he's getting cleanup now, and he's hitting like a cleanup hitter. When they put him there, I was laughing because his OPS was about 500. Well, he's hit like one lately. He had a double last night in his 3rd consecutive multi-hit game Thursday. On the 7-game homestand, he hit 385 with an 808 slugging percentage. He had 5 doubles and 2 homers in 7 games. He leads the NL with 9 doubles now. And get this, since the start of the 2018 season, Ozzy's got 97 doubles. It's far and away the most of any hitter in the majors. And it's 28 more than the next highest doubles total by a second baseman.
And he's signed for about $80.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I mean,
and playing
yeah.
solid D.
Yeah. Yeah. His D never really slumps.
And in Noah, the other day, he had 9 strikeouts in the game against the Cubs in 5 1/3 innings. His 148 opponents average at Truist Park, 7th lowest in the majors for home starts. He's right behind Shane Bieber at 150. It's 2-0 with a 1.56 ERA and a 0.75 WHIP in his 3 home starts. 24 strikeouts, 4 walks in 17 1/3 innings. 12.46 strikeouts per 9 innings at home. That's tied with Trevor Bauer for 9th best in the majors. And
it's cool to see him make an all-star team.
Yeah. His overall 0.91 WHIP, tied with Clayton Kershaw for 13th in the majors among qualifiers. 190 opponents average, tied with Jack Flaherty for 19th in the majors, 12th in the NL. 3 spots ahead of Ian Anderson is 196. I mean, he has been phenomenal, dude. And we mentioned the hitting. He's 4 for 10. He's hitting 400. He's with a homer, double. He's slugging 1,200.
I thought I saw Snit or somebody say he couldn't even, square up 60 miles an hour in spring training, and now he's raking.
He was whiffing on soft toss pitches in spring training. Soft toss. He noticed that I've been a position player most of my life. He used to be a rake, but he said, I got to spring trade. I was struggling because I hadn't hit in so long. But he worked hard at it, and now look at him.
Well, I guess he wouldn't have worked on it last year because of the DH.
Right. So Max Fried's 2 for 5, but Noah's 4 for 10 as a hitter. Jacob deGrom's the only guy that's hitting better than him, 462, but Jacob doesn't have a home run.
No, and he played college. He was a shortstop in college.
Yeah, exactly. Noah's the only pitcher with multiple extra base hits, and he's the first Braves pitcher to homer since Julio Teheran in 2018.
Here's a good one out.
Here's a good one. He's the first Braves pitcher to have back-to-back multi-hit games since John Smoltz.
Damn.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen too much.
No. So anyway, we'll see if he can keep hitting. I tell you, those swings look good, though, man. He's not up there taking them faulty swings. He's up there hacking.
Yeah.
He's up there hacking, man. He hit that homer, and he looked like he'd done it before.
Yeah, he knew it was out. he went right into his home run trot. And, I mean, he was breaking ball out on his front foot, stayed back on it. Yeah, he's been a really pleasant surprise this year.
Yeah,
I thought he was good last year. Watching him, I always appreciated what he did. But the step he's taken this year is on another level.
All right, that's it. We'll have another 755 is real next week. 2 more next week. And we'll have a road trip to talk about. First half of a road trip. Lot better things to discuss these days than there was a week or 2 ago.
Thank God.
All right, that's it for us. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Give us a thumbs up in the ratings, please. We'll send you checks. Or Eric will. 755 is real. We're out.